behind it. So how did you get involved with Blue Eyes?
I was approached by the producers who had the idea for this series, and as soon as I heard it, the idea, I got really, really scared. Like, I was scared shitless. I was like, do I need to, if I do this, like, I'm gonna have to like get a secret address and leave Twitter forever. And but then there was also this sort of feeling that that I had to do it because I was so scared, and because it also, like, it felt important. Like, it felt like something that I needed to be done, and as soon as I heard the idea, I also, instinctively knew how to do it. Like, I heard the idea, I was like, okay, yeah, I know, like, this is the way to do it, like, and it's gonna be brilliant. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. Scary, never been so tired in my life, and but yeah, it was great.
And because it's a cross-genre show, because it's obviously, we've seen political thrillers before, but this is a political murder thriller, presumably. I mean, I've only watched the first episode, but I assume that there are, elements of that. Again, is that something else that appealed to you as a writer? You thought, because it's not just a straight political story, because there are kind of murder and thriller elements to it. Is that what appealed to you as a writer?
It did, and it appealed to me that the show really takes sort of one question, almost, like, that it looks at. It takes, like, the politics around, like, extreme right opinions and the politics around racism, and then it looks at it from, like, different different characters in different arenas, and they all sort of converge around that one sort of question. And then they, as sort of an ensemble, and they, as a whole, they tell a wider picture, and they tell a bigger story. And for me also, it was exciting that, I mean, I've been lucky enough to work in drama in Scandinavia, when we have this big explosion in Scandi crime and all these shows, and they're doing so well, and for by no means young anymore, but being younger than some of the other writers that work in Scandi Noir. It was just such a luxury we have at this moment, that because there's such an interest in Scandinavian drama, we can try to push the envelope. We can try to do something different, because in ways it is a Scandi crime shows, but in other ways it's not. It doesn't follow that standard format of the antisocial alcoholic detective who's looking for the one psychopath that's going to be found in the 10th episode. It's not. It more looks at the sort of the people around. So it starts with the murder, and in the first episode, and in the end, then it sort of looks around at the people around that murder, and what kind of political ramifications that has. Yes,
I was going to ask you, how big was your writing team on the show? I mean, how does it work? Obviously, with American programs, they have quite a big team, so like a showrunner, and then they have, a series of other writers who take certain episodes. And British TV is kind of a hybrid of the two. Yeah. I mean, how big was your writing team?
We were 3, including me.
Okay. Oh, really? So it's not really huge. So you wrote a lot of the show yourself?
I did. I mean, I outlined the whole show. So,
so was there a show Bible that you kind of put together yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
So that if other people would come in to write it, you could say, here you go, these are all the characters, this is the scenario.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, the 2 writers that I worked with are people that I've worked with before. So I knew that sort of where I had them, and I knew what their strengths were and how to use them, and to their best.
Yes. It's the question I've asked other people who worked. I just wondered, is there a difference between Swedish, Danish and Norwegian television, do you think? Is there a difference, or is there more in common than there are differences, would you say?
I think looking at it from the outside, there is more in common than differences.
What about for yourself? I mean, are you Swedish?
Yes.
You are, okay. So I mean, how do you see? Do you see that they all have, different approaches? Presumably you could watch, 3 different TV programs. You could tell if it was Danish, Swedish, or Norwegian. You'd watch it, you go, okay, that's a Norwegian program. That's a Danish program. I mean, is that a fair comment?
Well, if I can do that
yourself,
well, I mean, for myself, I can hear it from the language.
I mean, apart from that,
if I look
at the bridge, obviously the bridge has the 2 different languages. So I just
if I look at the
what's the difference? Is there a difference? Would you say, apart from approach, but just in terms of their feel, is there, are they distinct? you know, the three. I mean, obviously they're very, you know, they're distinct countries, but in terms of their dramas and their television programs, are they different?
I could not define that difference.
No.
I think there's more that connects them than there is that separates them.
Yes.
I mean, there are some differences in how sort of the work behind the scenes gets done, where I think there's a bigger difference between Danish television and then on one hand, and then Norway and Sweden on the other hand. The Danes do much fewer productions, and then they work those productions longer and with more money. And the Swedes and Norwegians were more sort of like, we just go for it. So I think for me, looking at it, sometimes that's just my personal opinion, but the Danish shows tend to be slightly better made, and slightly less exciting.
Okay. And are they more urban? Would you say that the Danish shows focus more on the urban side? Because obviously, you know, with Sweden and Norway, you've got, you know, stunning, you know, natural beauty. I mean, Denmark, I'm sure, has as well, but it doesn't have the grandeur, you know, of places that Sweden and Norway has. So are they a bit more insular, you think, and a bit more urban, just because of the nature of the country?
They may be. But also, once again, and this is so boring for just like people who are just interested in fans of
I'm
television.
sorry, I'm just.
But I'm
interested. I'm interested to find out.
I think it's actually to be true. I mean, I think the real explanation is like sort of the structure of financing. That I think that Norway and Sweden relies much more on financing television series through regional funding. So we'll sort of be forced to end up shooting in more sort of localized places, and that's sort of, I think, a way where sort of the writing actually follows the money, so it's not. It's not the. I don't.
So you mean things might be tailored if there's kind of more funding in a particular region of Sweden, for example?
Yeah.
So okay. But I mean, Blue Eyes, was it shot predominantly in Stockholm? Did it move around over the course of the show?
It was actually shot predominantly in Gothenburg.
Oh, okay.
So we were sort of tasked with the whole faking Stockholm in Gothenburg.
So you had to do that? Did you actually have to do that?
Yeah. I mean, we had location shoots in Stockholm where we'd film during sort of very short periods of times. We'd film a lot of scenes in like very recognizably Stockholm.
So you did exteriors
in
Stockholm, a few?
Yeah. Not all.
No.
I mean, when it's just a street.
Yes.
It's Gothenburg.
Oh, okay.
And when you see City Hall of Stockholm in the background, then it's Stockholm.
Oh, okay. So I mean, how long was the shoot?
The shoot was we shot from I think the middle of March until the middle of November.
So it's quite long. I mean, I was at a break.
Yeah.
Was it like 10, 12 weeks in total?
Oh God, I don't know. It's like, we had no break. We shot through
you
the
shot
summer.
straight through?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, March, April, June, May, June, July, August, September, October.
Wow.
Yeah, like 8 or 9 months.
That's a long shoot.
Yeah.
And I imagine it was very intensive.
Absolutely. One of the things that made the shooting of it very intensive was the fact that the whole show takes place over the course of 3 weeks.
Yes.
So, I mean, Swedish weather...
Well, your summers are very bright. I guess your winters can be rather severe, so you had to make sure that you finished it prior to the weather turning pear-shaped, basically.
Exactly, and when we started shooting, there was like 5 feet of snow. And we were shooting a show that takes place during the summer. So, you know, basically we just shot interiors from March, April to May, and then we were just like outside and doing as much exterior shoots from June, July, August back, and then I think we finished up our exteriors in September, and then we had only interiors. But that also meant that we had to shoot wildly out of order, out of chronological order.
Just when you had the opportunity to do so, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, my personal nightmare was in May, because of different various location limitations.
Yes.
I found out about a week in advance. We were shooting episodes 1 through 4, and those were the only episodes that were finished by then. I was sort of working on episode 5 and 6, but beyond episode 6 we hadn't written anything. Like, I knew the story.
Wow.
The story had been plotted out from the beginning, but it hadn't been written at all. And 1 week prior to the shooting, I found out that we're going to have to shoot. There's this location that I know that Alex, you're going to need in episode 10. We cannot return to this location. You need to write these scenes from episode 10 now. And it was sort of, I barely know what's going to happen in episode 6. Wow. And you're asking me to, you know, commit to scenes that are going to be in episode 10, and they actually ended up being in episode 10, but that was...
I mean, did you do much to rewriting while they were being shot? I know
other shows,
and you're sitting there and things are being filmed, you think, actually, you know, I wrote this at home, but now we're shooting it, actually, you know, this scene would work better if we did this instead. I mean, was there a lot of kind of rewriting on the hoof, basically?
Yes. I mean, I don't think I've ever rewritten so much as I've done on this show. Like, we worked into, like, literally, like, we'd show up with script pages on set. And not that the planning was necessarily bad, like, but it was just that sometimes we felt like, well, you know, actually we can push this scene even further. Like, we can do this even better. And no, I rewrote all the way through. I mean, I think I finished my last scene of, you know, additional dialogue recording, writing, like a week before the last episode aired. So I really, quite literally wrote all the way through.
Wow. I just to wrap things up. So is this the most ambitious series that you've worked on as a writer on television?
Absolutely.
I mean, did you feel gratified and, you know, obviously proud at the end that you've managed? So it's just 10 episodes, the first.
Yes.
I mean, are there opportunities for future series for the show?
Absolutely, there are. But one thing that I really wanted to do with this show was just go for broke. Like, all the time. So I didn't hold back at all, and I didn't think about series 2 at all when I was doing series 1. So series 1 is basically, you know, like, that's for me the sort of the full expression of that story. And then there are some very early discussions about doing a series 2, which would sort of be a lot of the same characters, a lot of the same sort of themes and places, but it would be a new sort of web of stories and a new sort of theme.
Okay, and obviously you're pleased that it's picked up by Walter Presents for the UK, so
absolutely.
We get to see this wonderful series over here.
I'm really happy it's coming through.
Brilliant. Listen, Alex, thank you again.
Thanks very much.